but there is a lot of conversation about what is police reform.
Hello, welcome to Shop Talk, where we will talk everything Scottsdale Police, answer your questions, and bring you updates and other news around the department. Now, here are your hosts, Chief Jeff Walther and Sergeant Kevin Kwan.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode number 5 of Shop Talk. I'm Chief Jeff Walther, your host. Excited to be back for another episode with my trusty sidekick, Sergeant Kevin Kwan.
Yep.
Great to have you again this month. Last month was great. We're going to be back to normal this month with a kind of a normal episode. Last month we did domestic violence awareness. Had some great guests on for that. But we're going to be back. We're back this month with some good stuff. A lot of great questions, and our special guest, which I'll introduce later on down the road in the show. But super happy to have the Honorable Mayor of Scottsdale, David Ortega. And we'll get to that after we get to the great questions that we have that our citizenry has given to us via social media. And it's just great to be back. It seems like a month goes by awfully fast, and I'm excited to be back with everybody. And our listeners continue to go up, and I continue to get great feedback from our citizenry on things that we've been doing. So great to be back, Kevin.
Yeah, Chief, it was great last month to have the domestic violence folks and our PCIS representative here to really just talk about the warning signs of domestic violence.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's kick this one off just with a reminder that to our listening audience, if you have topics or ideas that you want us to focus on, you have people that you want us to bring on the show to interview, to hear from, and their connection with law enforcement and the Scottsdale Police Department, please get with us at Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and just let us know your thoughts. We're very interested. That's the whole idea behind a Scottsdale PD podcast, is really about that interaction, that monthly interaction, the questions that we get, and to bring on interesting guests like the one we have today.
That's right. All right, Chief, let's get right into our community questions. There's a lot of discussion about police reform going on in the country. Can you share your thoughts about this issue and what Scottsdale PD is doing, if anything, really, in this area?
Super timely question. We get that question quite a bit. Typically, that focuses on discussion about that's gone around the country related to this idea of defund the police, which I'm happy to say we are not seeing in Scottsdale or in Arizona at all. We have great support from the mayor and city council. We have great support from our citizenry. But there is a lot of conversation about what is police reform. And so I will tell you right off the bat that for us and for me, police reform in this country starts with accreditation. And a lot of people are like, okay, what does that mean? Well, what accreditation does for police departments is it really brings in a third-party set of eyes to really review your policies, practices, procedures. You hear a lot in police reform that discusses pattern and practice. And so Scottsdale Police Department had a visionary chief in the early 90s in Chief Mike Heidingsfield, who really pushed for accreditation through CALEA, which is the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies. It's a national and international accrediting body that has police departments in the nation adhere to 464 model policies and standards. And so we've been accredited through CALEA since 1994, and we're on their gold standard, so to speak, and just continue to be accredited. In fact, we just finished up a part of a 2-year component where they reviewed, again, many of our policies and procedures. And so what's great about that is that when I came back in December of last year, one of the things that we started to look at was accreditation through the new Arizona Law Enforcement Accreditation Program, or ALEAP, that is run through the Arizona Chiefs group. And so really our folks have worked very hard on getting that accreditation through ALEAP. And I'm happy and I'm glad that the mayor's here today so that I can kind of brag on us a little bit, in that I was just in Laughlin last week at the Arizona Chiefs Convention where we received our Arizona accreditation.
Oh, great.
And it's a big deal for us because we are the only municipality in the state of Arizona to be dually accredited through CALEA and now through ALEAP, or the Arizona Law Enforcement Accreditation Program. For me, that's first and foremost when we talk about what does police reform look like. What it looks like is now we hold ourselves to 508 model policies and standards that really dictate how we interact with the public, training, everything that you can think of in terms of really dedicated policy that our officers and our professional staff stick to as we kind of run the day-to-day operations of this police department. So that's first and foremost. Get accredited is what I talk about related to what police reform truly looks like in our nation and in our state.
And we've noticed that, I mean, through the last, say, 3, 4, 5 years, that the police reform there's never been a actual, this is really what we want the country to do. This is really what all police agencies to do. So having this accreditation really just sets us apart from, we're already having higher standards than, say, a normal police department would have.
Agreed. And that's really the idea of, those 508 standards that we adhere to. Some of those come from 21st century policing, but many of those standards obviously come from well before that, or evolve as we evolve as a profession, to really include just everything you can think of. Things that we've added recently are about de-escalation or duty to intervene. Those are all part of those standards that we adhere to and that we've committed to. And so it's great just getting that dual accreditation.
You talk about de-escalation. It's kind of one of the great points to talk about. When you started your career back in 1994, it kind of explained the difference of how we've evolved since then. I mean, a lot of it must have been, you do what I say because this is the law, and the evolution of just policing has morphed so much since then. Absolutely.
It's really, I think we've really worked hard at getting to a place where policing is looked at as an incredible profession that very intelligent people come into, very good communicators. And that's really what I'm looking for in new hires, is people who are exceptional at communicating, because we communicate with people every day. Fighting people into handcuffs every day really is a misnomer in law enforcement. We talk to far more people every day than we do get involved in a fight or a chase or anything that you typically see on TV. And so, yeah, the idea today is we're just much better at training today's police officers, I think, than we were in the 90s and the 80s and the 70s, paying much more attention to the idea of being part of the community and not just and not above the community. And that's where we see ourselves in Scottsdale PD. We definitely are part of the community. When you're part of the community, you see everybody in that community as an opportunity to create relationships and leverage that relationship with one another to make a safer Scottsdale.
And you kind of mentioned hiring, so let's get into our next question. Staffing shortages appear to be plaguing many police departments around the country and the Valley. Are we seeing this issue with Scottsdale? And if so, what are you doing about it?
Absolutely. It's actually been pretty frightening around the country. You see major police departments. My brother and sister-in-law are in from Seattle, and you see Seattle at the lowest numbers that they've had in terms of their sworn population in the last decade.
Wow.
If you look at other organizations, NYPD that's struggling with filling those seats, Chicago PD, pretty much every police department that you look at around the country and around the Valley, Phoenix PD is having their struggles with filling a few hundred positions. I'm currently sitting at 12 sworn vacancies, and that really is a kind of a byproduct of right around 30 retirements that we've had in the last 20 months. Those are both planned retirements, people we knew were going to retire, and those who crossed a 20 or 25 year mark and said, I'm out.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this anymore. And you see that around the country, people getting out of law enforcement who historically would have stayed another 3, 5, 7, 10 years, just because there's an atmosphere in the country related to law enforcement that is a bit negative right now. And so you see people getting out. We've been very fortunate in Scottsdale that we're still drawing a lot of great candidates. We're drawing a lot of great lateral police officers from those states that I think our listening audience would say, oh, I get it. A lot of lateral officers from California, Washington State, Minnesota, Illinois, Maryland, that they're getting out of those places and they want to come to where it's a great city, the weather's beautiful, and they have great support from city government, council, the mayor, and our citizens. So we do have some vacancies, but that's really about the 30-ish retirees that we've had, or retirements that we've had in the last 20 months. And my personnel section division, led by Director Jill Bain and Melanie Barrett, are doing great things to bring more people on, to recruit more people. So we're working hard to fill those positions.
So it's kind of a testament to how our staff is working, since we really have seen the majority of the baby boomer population that is now retiring, and we don't have the full population to supplant that workforce that's gone. So by Scottsdale doing their recruiting and showcasing how great we are, it seems to be offsetting a little bit of the retirements.
Yeah, agreed. Sadly, the hard thing right now is that we're seeing fewer and fewer people wanting to come into the profession. Now, what's been nice is that those people who are coming and are applying and are at recruit testing, I think I'll be at a recruit testing this week, they're really good.
Yeah.
So we might have fewer of them, but the caliber of those people who want to get into the profession is actually very good.
Yeah. Step up and serve your community.
Yes.
So fantastic.
We're hiring. We have openings.
We do.
Please apply.
Check our website, please. All right. Changing topics a little bit. This is November. So the big thing for November is Thanksgiving, Veterans Day, kind of the holidays.
Absolutely.
But the thing that we deal with from the police side is Black Friday. And
Lock your car.
Lock your car. How crazy Black Friday can get. So what advice can you give people as Black Friday comes up, and especially with the long holiday that's going to play?
It was kind of how I interrupted you right there. Lock your car.
Yeah.
Be surprised the number of reports my folks are taking related to you left a laptop, a purse, something of value on the front seat of the car. Most criminals they take advantage of opportunity. And sometimes we leave things in the car in plain view that somebody looks at and says, I can break this window real quick.
Yeah.
And get away with this. And so lock your car. Make sure that you're paying attention to those people who are in and around you. It's just about being aware, being self-aware of what's going on. And that also includes your driving. This is going to sound like the old fuddy-duddy in me, the 51-year-old guy that I am, but it is, please pay attention to the speed limit, the amount of traffic on the roadway on Black Friday, the amount of traffic in parking lots at Scottsdale Fashion Square or any of our great shopping venues, Scottsdale Quarter. They're going to be packed.
Right.
Just slow down. Slow down. Watch your belongings. Take things of value with you, and just be more aware of what's going on. You can prevent an accident or a crime if you're just paying attention to your surroundings, and that's really I think the most important thing is just pay attention to what's going on around you, and don't be a victim. Don't make yourself an opportunity for somebody who has nefarious intent on the holidays.
Right. You talked about paying attention and being aware, and we used to grow up with the fact of, hey, if you're going to be at night, park by a light or something of that matter. What we've seen is a little bit of it really doesn't matter anymore. It's so quick, like you talked about with what we affectionately call smash and grabs.
Yes.
It's so quick that just be attention to the people looking at handles, grabbing handles of doors and cars and all that. Call us about that, because that's how we prevent the next victim from being there.
Agreed. One last thing is I harp a lot on firearm safety. If you have a gun, which is absolutely your right, please reconsider leaving a gun in the car. Usually what's going on now is people are breaking into cars and they're stealing guns.
Yeah.
And so if you don't want to carry a gun with you, certainly you're right to do so or not to do so. But if you're just going to leave it in a vehicle, leave it at home.
Right.
What we see is guns being stolen during smash and grabs or car burglaries where they get in and now they have a gun that they didn't have prior to that car burglary, and that makes us all less safe.
Right. All right, let's get into a little bit of the thing that we like to call event season, which is coming up in the next few months. What is Scottsdale PD doing to prepare for them, And also, what is your favorite event that we host here in Scottsdale?
Oh my goodness, really going to pin me down to an event, because then I'm going to mention an event, and
you can say all of them, and everyone will
all
be happy.
of the events are amazing. Actually, my favorite event is the Barrett Jackson Auto Auction. I love old cars. I love old hot rods. In fact, I'll bring my grandsons with me this year, 5 and 3. And my 5-year-old grandson loves cars.
Yeah.
And he loves kind of the Lamborghini, the Ferrari, that kind of stuff. So I think he'll have a great time there. So I really enjoy the auction, not for the auction portion, but just to look at the cars. And what are we doing?
Yeah.
In fact, we started doing some of it as we are creating public service announcements. Some of the things that we're doing to really help our folks, and this actually connects with the last question, with Black Friday as well, but we're working hard on creating public service announcements for our folks, our citizens, our winter visitors, our regular tourists when they come here, our business owners, to really increase their level of safety. And so we've been working on a series of public service announcements, be it up at the trailheads, be it in Old Town, be it at the Fashion Square, about safety and about those things to keep everybody safe, to prevent them from being crimes of opportunity. So that's that component.
Right.
The other component is we're really ramping up our preparations as we expect to see the Super Bowl in 2023, which is going to be the same week as the Open. In fact, the Super Bowl will be the same day on that Sunday as the final round of the Open. And so we're going to be very busy. And so we're in preparation mode for events even as far out as 2023, but for our regular signature events, we're already in the planning stages to make sure that we have things locked down and safe.
Which is great. I mean, we hosted it Super Bowl 42, and then the one afterwards that we had, and it was really cool to see the changes from the first time we hosted it to the second time, and now this will be our third time. So we've kind of got a little bit of background to levy off of. Then, oh my gosh, this is our very first time. So It just keeps improving every year.
I think we've gotten pretty good at it. We like to say that no offense to any of our listeners, but we like to say that the game happens over in Glendale, and then all of the nightlife and entertainment and a lot of the kind of the sightseeing happens in Scottsdale. And we embrace that, and we're excited about that.
All right, so this is a great question because it relates to the Super Bowl and the Cardinals. I mean, they unfortunately just lost last Thursday related to their undefeated season. But what do you think about the chances that the Cardinals have this year? And do you remember the last time that they were there in 2009 and what changes the PD kind of had to evolve into that?
I think the Cardinals have a great shot, probably the best shot that they've had in many years to make the Super Bowl. Very exciting. It's a great time to be a Cardinals fan. I mean, it's always a great time to be a Cardinals fan, but this year is just a little bit better. And so, yes, I remember 2009. I was a Commander in 2009, but we've had a Super Bowl. Oh, that's the last time. That's the last time
the Cardinals were in.
Yes,
Yes.
So, and how many? I'm trying to do my math here. In 2009, so we're in 2021, and in 12 years, that time period, technology-wise, we've really enhanced the level of technology. Our criminal intelligence unit, in terms of how we look at social media. Social media has really been the place where most information is exchanged now. In 12 years, in terms of technology and how we respond to things. So little tweaks here and there, but it's going to be good.
Yeah. And I mean, it's like you got these questions ahead of time because you jumped right into the social media postings. We've been posting a lot about our heat unit, HE, small AT, and the great arrests that they have been making and the impact that they've been doing in our city and in the valley in its entirety. What can you tell us about the community about internet safety, privacy concerns, and just what our heat unit is doing?
Sure. So for those listeners that don't know what HEAT stands for us, that is Human Exploitation and Trafficking. That's a unit that we rolled out this year, a newly created unit. We've always been doing exploitation crimes and investigations and internet crimes against children. But what we did was we brought them together in a singular unit. And really it's dealing with human trafficking sex trafficking in particular, and then internet crimes against children. And boy, they have just hit the ground running and are doing some incredible work. We say that, Scottsdale is an amazing place, but we're also a place that has 11 million visitors, a robust and exceptional resort community. And so we have the events that we have, the size of the events, bringing the Super Bowl back again. Sadly, what goes with a lot of big events and a lot of people in a large metropolitan area, you see a lot of human trafficking and internet crimes against children. And so we wanted to make sure that we were on the cutting edge of investigating and having those crimes prosecuted. And wow, they've been very busy. Sadly and positively, they've been very busy with a lot of arrests and taking some very dangerous folks off the street. So kudos to the sergeant of that unit, Nick Allenshaw, who's really been working hard, and the lieutenant over the persons crime section, Lee Campbell, who have really done an exceptional amount of work in really bringing that together and kind of really leading from the front in a very sad series of crimes and issues in human trafficking and internet crimes against children.
But having this unit is kind of one of those, every person that we can help take off the streets is just one less person that we have to deal with.
Absolutely.
That the public is not safe from. So even though it does seem really sad, we're trying to do our part to make sure that we can take as many people as we can away from the streets.
Absolutely. And like I said, kudos to the folks and our folks really who are working hard at this and doing a great job.
We wanted to take a moment to thank you, our community, for sending in your questions to Chief Walther. If there is something you want to know, please visit one of our social media pages to leave a question for a future episode. Now back to Chief Walther and Sergeant Kwan with their special guest.
Really having incredible guests on the show, I think, is what really makes the show great. And I'm honored that our mayor took the time out of his day to come spend a few minutes with us and talk about his exceptional career. And so I'll give you as I introduce our honorable mayor, David Ortega. He is a registered Arizona architect and designed many landmark buildings in Old Town. He is a graduate of the University of Arizona and was an apprentice architect to Bennie Gonzales FAIA, the award-winning designer of Scottsdale City Hall, Civic Center Library, and Scottsdale Center for the Performing Arts. Mayor Ortega has been part of many professional organizations and committees, including the Scottsdale Downtown Architectural Guidelines Committee, part of the Scottsdale Development Review Board, and the Maricopa County Private Industry Council, Maricopa County Private Industry Council, State of Arizona School Facilities Board, Governor's Latino Advisory Council, the American Institute of Architects, and Scottsdale Leadership. Mayor Ortega and his wife, Rosemary Gannon, have been married for 40 years. Congrats, Mayor, that's fantastic. And raised their children, Alexandra and Luke, right here in Scottsdale. And Mayor Ortega, I'm just super happy that you took the time out of your busy day to spend with us and take a few questions and talk about your connection with Scottsdale and the Scottsdale Police Department.
When was your earliest interaction with law enforcement?
Just to give you a little background, we're an old Tucson family. However, I did grow up in Globe, Arizona, and we had the Globe police chief just 4 doors down. And the other way, we had the DPS major for Gila County across the street. Next door was Officer Skip Fink, City of Globe.
What brought you to Scottsdale?
And I came to Scottsdale after graduating from architecture school, not knowing anybody, and I was working as an apprentice architect.
I've heard you have a great story about meeting your wife's family for the first time.
Actually, it was at a Halloween party that I met an amazing woman, and by January, I got invited to have dinner with her family. And we knew we had a lot in common, or I thought so, because I have 4 sisters and she has 4 brothers and a sister, and I have 4 sisters and 2 brothers. So eventually I sat down for dinner and with three of her brothers, and at the other end of the table was Chief Michael Gannon,
Oh no.
the police chief of Scottsdale.
Wow.
And there was an empty seat to my left, and probably about 10 minutes after I sat down, my Sergeant Michael Gannon, in his full uniform and gun, and he sat down with his chest radio next to me, and we shared a great meal together. And by the time things got cleaned up after dinner, I said to Marty, her youngest brother, who was like 6'3", and I said, "Gee, your dad seems rather quiet." And he said to me, "Well, I'll tell you, he's spoken more with you than all the other boyfriends put together."
That's great.
Okay, Mayor, which took more guts, dating the chief's daughter or running for mayor?
Oh, wow, that's a great question. Actually, we got married in October, a year after we met, and I had no idea I would be running for mayor or council for that matter.
Before becoming a council member, did you have any interactions with Scottsdale PD?
Another situation I had, it was, in fact, it was related, I believe, to Scottsdale leadership. I had a opportunity for a ride-along. We met up there at Shea, and then we were having a snack at Chuckbox.
Yeah.
And so there were two officers. I was with them, and they got the call. And whatever the alarm was, everyone dashed to the patrol car, and I got the cage.
Yeah.
That's where they put your ride-alongs. So it was like, hey, okay. Anyway, we were just racing up. This is before you had the 101.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And the lights and the desert area raced north, and the burglary suspect was the desert greenbelt burglar.
Yeah.
Sometimes they call him the rock burglar.
Yeah.
And sure enough, we found the attempted entry point, and they saw some footprints in the dirt and this and that. We were out there probably till almost 4 a.m, and a DPS helicopter was called in, and there were no arrests made. They didn't catch the guy, but later I was told that the DPS helicopter with infrared had located the vehicle, a vehicle out in the desert he was not caught then, but that information was useful, and it led to his eventual arrest.
When did you decide to pursue a leadership role in Scottsdale?
In 2000, I did run as city councilman, and I became the only elected architect and councilman. I really enjoyed that service. I've always been a downtown architect. I've always been around security issues, lighting issues, best practice. And there have been some characters that have caused some mischief for the PD.
What is something you worked on as a council member that was for the police department?
In the year 2000, we passed Bond 2000, which I think it was about $350 or $60 million, and it included a possible Scottsdale police helicopter. And so I was invited to do some ride-alongs. I ended up in the City of Mesa police chopper, and we part of our duty was orbiting the Ho-Ho-Com baseball stadium during a Cubs game. So I got a good look at that one.
That's great duty right there.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
They could just turn on a dime. It was pretty amazing. And ultimately, the council decided to pass on the helicopter.
Mm-hmm.
So even though we had approved about $6 million on a buy, it was the maintenance and operation that was just out of question.
Absolutely. Hugely expensive.
And for that reason, we went on to, of course, rely on the county.
County, Mesa, Phoenix, all have been very good with us over the years and letting us use their airships when we need to.
What is something you remember about Chief Gannon?
Now, just to give you an idea, Chief Michael Gannon did retire in '89, and again, that was well before I even considered being running for office. Dad Gannon was an amazing person, and his daughter is just as tough as he is. Absolutely, as fair and just so wonderful. I was able to see the drawings and how things worked out for the Via Linda. And so that was completed as he retired in '89. So Chief Michael Gannon was badge number 108.
Wow.
Yep. He was the second police chief of Scottsdale after Nimitz. And he came to Scottsdale in 1966, having retired as a lieutenant in the New York Police Department. So after 20 years, he retired at the age of 41. And there was a job offer in Scottsdale, Arizona. And that's how he decided. They have six children from Queens, New York, and moved out in 1966 as part of Nimitz's plan to modernize Scottsdale PD. And Rosemary and her brothers and sister grew up here.
How were you involved as a council member selecting a police chief?
So through this kind of journey, I ended up as councilman back in 2000, and there were 3 candidates for police chief. And for some reason, I don't know why, I was the only council member asked to interview them. In fact, it was perhaps unannounced, but I interviewed them in Chaparral Park.
That's awesome.
It was Chaparral Park, and it was pretty obvious of the 3 that Alan Rodbell was the one.
Yep.
He lasted 19 years. He gave it a lot, and the integrity has grown. And so I was just really happy to be there.
What did you do from the time you left council till becoming the mayor?
I went into the private sector for the next 20 years. What can I say?
Yeah.
And, come back as mayor now. It's an honor to know kind of the heritage and all the expertise that you bring.
That's definitely the way to retire. So it makes me think, though, you were here when you were a council member, and then fast forward, I think you said 20 years, and then you took office this year in January of 21. What are the differences that you've seen in that 20 years from the time you were a councilman to the time now that you're the mayor? How have you seen the city grow, or things that you've seen in that 20-year time period? And what's that difference?
Well, Scottsdale has always been, I'll call it a high-maintenance clientele.
Yeah.
And it's not just our residents, our businesses, it's the expectations that all the visitors, the millions of people who come here, I've repeated this several times, we have a great reputation. One, we're beautiful city. Number 2, we're very clean. Number 3, we're very safe and secure. And then, of course, we're all into the wellness part.
Yeah.
And that means, healthy schools, healthy businesses, healthy neighborhoods. And you're right in the middle of all that.
Yeah. One last question, Mayor, if you wouldn't mind, is you're 10 months into the new term as the mayor, and I'm curious to see kind of your vision for the city moving forward. Just kind of get, to put it out there to the listening audience, how you see moving forward, how the city of Scottsdale is going to move forward.
Well, these are exciting times. I describe my day as, let's just say, half of it's planned and half of it's a surprise, right? And I like that. I like designing. Working with clients. I've been doing it as an architect. I put that aside, but really those kinds of skills are part of the way I lead.
Okay.
In terms of the vision, obviously, we worked on our general plan, and I know that we have such a high demand, event-centered city. We're well known, and that depends on. Takes a lot of work.
Yes.
That you're involved, pregame and years and months ahead.
Great. That sounds great, Mayor. I'll tell you, the time really flew by, and so Mayor Ortega, I just want to thank you for being on our podcast, Shop Talk. It's kind of a labor of love for Kevin and I, and for Steve Perry, who does all of our editing. And so just want to thank you for taking the time out today to visit with us and share some exceptional historical perspective about the PD and your connection to that history. And so
my life has been blessed. My career has been blessed. I think we have an amazing city. I know we have an amazing city where families and businesses can thrive. And we certainly do count on you, and you certainly wear that suit very well. And I commend everyone that's involved in all of our safety programs, top to bottom.
Outstanding. Thank you, Mayor, and to all our listeners out there. Remember that every day offers all of us the opportunity to be more in the service of your fellow human beings. So do great things, take care of each other, and if you have any questions, please reach out to me and my staff, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening in to Shop Talk. Tune in next month where we will answer more of your burning questions. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and leave a rating on iTunes. Like and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you should need us, we are only a phone call away at 480-312-5000. Have an amazing day, and remember to always be more.